Welcome everybody. Today we're going to be talking all about early game Zeta priorities. I recently did a video on the top 10 early Omicrons to apply. Today we're doing 20 Zetas because Zetas are significantly easier to get than Omicrons. They apply across every game mode, everywhere you play. So they're actually more important in a lot of ways. Now this list is considering it's not exactly a rank order of like number one's the best, 20 is the least best. It's just kind of loosely correlated to what order I think you should get them in. Like with number one, the first one I'll talk about, that's like applicable super early on, up through 20 is covering a bunch of teams that I think everyone needs to make sure they gets their hands on pretty early and that aren't super accessible. I am not including Zetas that you only apply to get to an Omicron. There's a fair amount of those Zetas that you will have to apply, but I'm focusing on the viability, the strength of the Zeta on its own, considering high value early game teams. So let's get started. And the first Zeta I recommend applying, and honestly, one of the first Zetas you actually can apply because it's available at level 72, Rex is unique. So do not apply his special. This is actually kind of a crap Zeta, but his unique is actually pretty impactful. So it decreases the damage penalty for tagging out of turn, increases the amount of speed you're getting on all Phoenix allies, and then whenever a clone trooper, meaning himself, falls below half health, they recover 35% health and protection. That's extremely annoying even through the end game. It's just like it doesn't have a cap on how often it can be applied. It's just always happening. Always recovering 35% health and protection. Limit once per turn, but like it's like each turn that's going to happen. And it makes it really hard to kill Rex unless you do really big damage. And then they gain 50% defense and tenacity up for 2 turns. Whenever a clone trooper or Phoenix is inflicted with a debuff, he gets 5% turn meter per debuff. So that's all Phoenix allies when it's on a Phoenix team. And then all allies recover 5% health and protection. There's a lot shoved into that. So not only is it allowed, or you're allowed to apply at level 72 before a lot of the others, a lot of them it's level 82 or 84. It's just very impactful on probably the first team that players are using, which is Phoenix. So it's going to do great for you across the board, GAC, TW, getting through nodes, which is important, Galactic War, everything. It's just a one-stop shop, and Captain Rex is a beast. Number 2, the second one I'd usually recommend applying. It could be first if it was available a little bit earlier on. You're going to level up faster now, so I don't know, maybe that's not as big of a deal. But we're talking about Merciless Massacre. So this is a completely transformative Zeta. It turns this ability from basically a 1-turn cooldown decrease with a little bit of a boost to damage to potentially 6, 7, 8 turns if you play it right. So under a Palpatine lead, if you have his lead Zeta, which will be number 3, you can get your turn. You can get another turn basically with Force Crush, pop Merciless Massacre, attack everyone, lay ability block on everyone, get dots, maybe do a big hit with throwing his sword or his lightsaber. Throwing the lightsaber, and he's going to be valuable for you across a variety of resource gaining events. So like 2 assault battles. This is going to be paramount to multiple assault battles. Not just challenge tier 1, challenge tier 2, just the earlier tiers of them. If you have a relic Darth Vader and you barely have any other relic characters, you can still tear people apart. Now Darth Vader definitely falls off later on, but he's still really important to getting that income through the assault battles. Also, he's going to be really your main driver through dark side nodes. And he can be a one-man show in Grand Arena for at least a while. He has a ship, which is pretty decent too. So this Zeta is going to be useful for quite a while for you. And like I already alluded to, number 3 is Emperor Palpatine's lead. Now this was the first Zeta I ever applied in my life in 2019, and it still holds up for early game. Like Vader, 2 assault battles, places of power, and Force Moon. If you choose to go about it the way that I did, which is Palpatine and Vader. Whenever a debuff on an enemy expires, Empire and Sith allies gain 5% turn meter. So without this, he's not really that viable of a Sith leader. But with it, Sith leaders are getting turn meter too, because normally it's just Emperor allies are getting turn meter from inflicting debuffs, and Sith allies just heal. Now, Palpatine and Vader each have both those tags, so it doesn't really distinguish one way or the other for them. But that's a lot of turn meter you're getting, and combined with Vader's Merciless Massacre, you're going to have a lot of damage over time, the speed down, you're going to get shocks and stuns from Palpatine. If you have Mara Jade, you even have more debuffs. So it's just all over the place, going to be really impactful. If you're new to the game, it's really going to be fun pretty quickly. So he is definitely still an early game staple for me, still top 3. Number 4 was not the 4th or 5th or 6th or 7th. I don't think Zeta that I applied on my GoTinks account. But it's Kanan's special, Total Defense. Now this special does quite a lot, and it really helps you kind of loop people with your Phoenix. So it's a full cleanse for the whole team, which is great. You don't have any others on the team. It's really versatile for them. You get defense up for 3 turns, so that's good, I guess. It's not the most impactful buff, but it's still good. But this is the kicker. Grant Kanan and target ally foresight for 2 turns. When each of these foresights expire, Kanan gains 100% turn meter and other Phoenix allies gain 50% turn meter. That's crazy. That is really, really necessary to completing a turn meter loop. Early game, you're really going to notice it. I don't even have my Kanan at gear 13 on this account, but it is a very early game focus. It's going to really get you a lot done, especially if you're trying to get Secrets and Shadows done up through challenge tier 1 with your Phoenix. Definitely doable, but this is basically necessary for that. Aside from Rex's, I think it's the best Zeta on that Phoenix squad, and since, I mean, to me, working on Phoenix and then a Palp Vader team early, those are like your first light side and dark side teams, so it only makes sense to pour a little bit extra into your first team, being Phoenix. And even though I like the Phoenix and then Palp Vader route, I do acknowledge that a lot of players are going to be going for heavy Imperial Troopers early. Maybe they want to get Executor for their fleet. In either case, Admiral Piet's Zeta on Emperor's Trap is amazing. Even if you go Palpatine Vader, you can still put and you're not really farming Imperial Troopers. This is still going to be really valuable, and Darth Vader's going to get a lot of damage. Whenever an Emperor ally begins a turn or attacks out of turn, all Emperor allies gain a stack of the Emperor's Trap, which is plus 6% offense and potency per stack. And if Darth Vader is an ally, Vader and Piet have plus 20% accuracy, potency, and tenacity. So think of Vader doing his Merciless Massacre. If you're under Palpatine lead, he does for special. Maybe Piet already took a turn before that. Vader does a special, does a Merciless Massacre. By the end, he might have 7 or 8 stacks of Emperor's Trap. That's over an extra 50% offense and potency. So that's really adding up. And then if he has offense up as well, or on top of the Merciless Massacre, already provides a lot of damage modification, so you're really going to be hitting hard. Whether it's with Piet on that Palpatine team or Imperial Troopers, that just helps you do like an infinite turn meter loop under a Veer's lead. So it's just really valuable any way you slice it. So Piet, really great early game character, early game Zeta. Number 6 is Boss Lead. Bounty Hunters are, it's not the most valuable team in the game. He is part of farming up Executor, and he's probably the most versatile Bounty Hunter leader out there, but it really makes the team viable in a lot of ways. Whenever an enemy suffers a debuff or resists, so any attempt to do a debuff will heal all Bounty Hunter allies by 5% health and protection. This is really versatile, really goes a long way. You're farming him as soon as you can so you can get Houndstooth, because that's like one of the most important ships in the game. Not just for Executor, but just as a tank. On any fleet, really, but especially Executor. And there's a lot of events that require not just bounty hunters, but scoundrels. So you got galactic bounties, which are going to help you farm a lot of rare characters like Wampa. And then, I don't know, like Nest, Visas Mar. It makes it a lot easier when you have a decent boss. And for like Smuggler's Run, no, not Smuggler's Run, the credit heist and the training droid event, they require scoundrels, and you can kind of use just like a bounty hunter team as a proxy for scoundrels, and Bosk is leading the way. So that's one that's great. You're not going to regret it. It is unique. I'm not putting in this top 20. It is good. It like helps him keep his taunt, but it's not like a top 20 priority. But Bosk lead, just great. Number 7, this is kind of like the start of like a Jedi team. It's Grandmaster Yoda. So I imagine people unlocking Grandmaster Yoda after having built up a lot of Galactic Republic Jedi for their fleets, and those Jedi don't necessarily need their Zetas on their own. They're not the best Like Anakin's goes with Padme, Ahsoka, you need a Galactic Republic leader. You probably wouldn't have Revan before you have Yoda. So I think Yoda's special is a really high value early Zeta. You can unlock Yoda at 5 stars. He's going to help you in that Jedi Assault battle. He's got kind of plug and play if you at least have one Jedi on your team. But this really makes his whole, I don't know, vibe just gel. So his whole vibe is he's taking a bunch of turns in a row, basically. So you start, you can do Master Stroke if there's another Jedi. You're stealing buffs and taking another turn. So that's his turn 1. And then after that, if he stole good buffs, you spread out with Battle Meditation. That's turn 2. Without it, you're not getting much turn meter. You have a half chance to get 35% turn meter. With the Zeta, it's a full chance to get turn meter. And then it's 35% plus 10% turn meter for each other living Jedi ally. So that's a max. So that's all 4 except him. So that's 75% turn meter. He's getting close to a 3rd turn really quickly, and then his basic is getting turn meter if you attack someone with full health. So all you would need to do is someone coming closely after him, call him to assist, and he's gonna get like a 3rd turn really quickly, and then he might be able to hit hard with Unstoppable Force. So I really like Yoda early game. I still use him a lot on the GoTanks account, and I'm gonna Rhodium. But it's a really noticeable, really useful ability that is honestly a lot of fun. And shortly following after Yoda is the ideal Jedi leader for early, mid-game, and early late-game account. And I think the first day you want to throw on Jedi Revan. Once you get him, it might take some time to unlock him, but he's still a high priority, in my opinion. Really helps you get through higher tiers like Challenge Tier 1, Challenge Tier 2, Ground War, not Challenge Tier 3, but still. Whenever a Jedi ally attacks on a turn, they recover 20% of their max protection and deal 35% more damage. And on his team, there's a lot of attacks out of turn. Whenever a Jedi ally uses a basic ability on an enemy with bonus protection, think of Treya and Nest, reduce their max health by 10%. And then Jedi allies begin the battle with tenacity after 1 turn. So that's actually pretty important. So if you're going second, and you're going against a team that's heavy on debuffs, you're just going to be immune for a little bit. So it's really, really useful. And then I think right after his lead, like number 9, would be direct focus. So if you unlock Revan, it should be high priority to at least get his lead. And this special, which adds a buff immunity inflicted on the mass assist, can't be copied, dispelled, or resisted, and increasing cooldowns by 1, which can't be resisted, and stunning the target. So it's a lot of things going on there. So once you unlock him, you definitely want to at least get those 2. You might not get him this early to be your 8th and 9th Zeta. That's fine. But still really valuable, and I do think he's a high priority to get. Because he's just super handy. I've beat, with him and, Grandmaster Yoda, Mace, Jedi Luke in there as well. I've beaten plenty of Galactic Legends. Supreme Leader Kylo, Rey, I've even beaten a couple times. Jedi Master Luke. Just a really great squad, and Revan is just a top tier Jedi leader. Number 10, give or take, is Han Solo. And you can farm Han pretty early, which I did on my GoTanks account, but then ultimately I didn't use him a whole lot because I didn't have a team I really fit in well with. That being said, he could be like the first character you have built up towards a future CLS team, because you can kind of throw him in anywhere and he's going to do great. So he does shoot first with or without the Zeta. But what the Zeta adds is some extra crit chance, and the first time he uses basic, he attacks again, dealing 50% less damage. So this is where the double hit comes from. That's really nice. So he takes that bonus turn in the beginning, stuns someone, hits twice. From then on, after that, it's not only just a lot more damage, you could be removing turn meter twice. So if they have more than 50% turn meter, say they're close to another turn, you hit twice, you're taking away like 70% turn meter. That is quite effective. On that CLS team is ideal, but you can use them elsewhere, plug and play, if you just need to get a stun out there. So it's just not going to be a Zeta you regret at all. And if you happen to be going for Executor first, you might have Millennium Falcon earlier, and that'll help beef it up as well. But Han Solo Zeta is just really high quality. That's one you just won't regret. And then CLS, of course, the leader of the CLS team. It takes a little bit to unlock him just because you have to get a bunch of different characters all to 7 stars, and then you can do it, including another legendary in R2-D2. But once you get Commander Luke, and you probably want to have your Han Solo by the time you unlock Luke, the first Zeta you want to apply, there's another one I'll talk about later in the list, but the highest priority is it binds all things. So whenever he resists a detrimental effect, he recovers protection. But the bigger thing is whenever he inflicts a debuff, it gains 10% turn meter, and other allies gain half that amount. So in his basic, he's going to be doing 2 potential debuffs each time. If they already had defense down, it's going to be stun. But if they don't have it, it's going to be speed down and defense that he's inflicting. His special is inflicting buff immunity and tenacity down, so each attack has a couple of debuffs to it, and his team has counter chance, so he might just be hitting while taking out a turn and really juicing up the turn meter. It's pretty flexible because it's not locked even to Jedi or Rebel allies. It's all allies, so you could use them even a little plug and play if you're still pretty early, but really valuable Zeta once you unlock CLS. I'd say at least have 1 Zeta set aside to get that. Number 12 and 13 are both going to be on Treya. So even her Omicron aside, let's pretend you don't know about that. You're not going to get that right away. I still think the unique is probably the first Zeta you apply. Not only because you need to get through it to get to the Omicron, but it's just good. So at the start of each Sith ally's turn, Treya dispels all debuffs on them and deals damage equal to 5% of the max health for each debuff dispelled. So it's giving a little damage to you. But it's like you don't have any debuffs that stick unless they're locked debuffs. And that's really valuable, really freeing. Really helps your team. Because if you have the leader and not the unique, you can get stuck. You can get stunned, you can get ability blocked, and not really get anywhere. That Lord of Betrayal is really quite valuable. Of course, I have her a little bit later on, because if you had her and you had Nihilus and then you had Savage with an Omicron already, it'd be a great team to get earlier. It's just, it takes some to unlock her. You gotta farm up Nihilus. But she really is quite valuable. She's not really good for an assault battle, though, either. So that's why I prioritize Emperor Palpatine, Vader as a first dark side team, and then like Phoenix, and maybe CLS, and Bounty Hunters even. But she's a great Grand Arena team. So it's basically by the time you're really trying to move forward in Grand Arena, you want to get her. But a lot of times you get so buried behind opponents that are just so much bigger than you. That's why she's a little bit delayed in my mind. But her lead Zeta, also a must-have for her, but I'd say it's just second. It's like 1A and 1B on her Zetas. Whenever an enemy uses an ability outside their turn, so if they assist or if they counter, they take damage equal to 35% of max health. That's quite a lot. Just go against a Treya in PvE with like Geonosians or CLS or something and just see how much that is. The damage can't defeat enemies, but whenever an enemy gains a buff outside of their turn, they lose 50% offense till the end of their next turn. So that's really a big nerf to damage. It's really quite nice. You don't always think about it, but it's just her team is really survivable, and that's part of it. They're getting, because buffs are passed out like candy, especially now. Like, they're only more and more common. It's like it's almost a permanent situation that someone got a buff outside their turn, so their damage is just nerfed. It's not just all the survivability on her team, it's weakening their damage. So just 2 awesome Zetas right there. And coming right back around to Commander Luke, I rank this lead Zeta like as worse than the Treya Zetas. It might be more practical to just do both the CLS Zetas if you don't have the Treya team up and running, but I still wanted to kind of have a ranking of the actual value of each Zeta. So it's pretty simple. Whenever an enemy resists a detrimental effect, Rebel allies gain 5% turn meter. So it's almost rewarding you for having low potency, but that kind of gets both your bases covered. Because under it binds all things, if he inflicts debuffs, you get turn meter, and the delete, if you resist, you get turn meter. So you're rewarded either way for trying to inflict debuffs. However, with inflicting them, it's just Luke giving out turn meter. When it's resisted, it's anyone. So you get a lot of debuffs on the team eventually, like C-3PO, GPO. Not as much Chewbacca because tenacity down can't be resisted. You got Han has a little bit. Wait, does he? He has like stun. That's not too much, but yeah, a lot of Terminator on the team, so definitely worthwhile picking up the lead. The unique, it is good. I would just say, like, if you, this is not part of the ranking. I'm not putting this one in the top 20. I'd say if you can get by without applying this, I would just prioritize getting into the call to action stance because you just don't have the extra crit avoidance and tenacity that you get from this Zeta. But if you don't have the Zeta and you're in call to action, you're not missing anything. It's literally only applying to while he does not have the stance. So it's kind of easy to go without, at least for a while. It's worthwhile in the long run, but you can go without it a little bit. And number 15 on my list, coming a little bit, waiting a while to get this one because you want to be working on this ship Marauder and have the 3 Bad Batch needed for it up and running before you really start thinking about this Zeta. But it's Hunter's lead. This really makes the team have their identity. So I think the ship is more important than having a good Bad Batch on land. But if you do have them, like I usually recommend, you should probably get this Zeta. When Bad Batch allies use an ability while they have defense up, they deal true damage to all enemies. That is like the identity of Bad Batch as far as their damage goes. I mean, you got like Echo and Tech combining to take all buffs, daze, and stun. That's a big thing. You get going from that. And then there's all the damage from defense up. So it's mainly super useful in 5v5 or in PvE or TW, even if you're low enough where Bad Batch can still be useful. But that damage really adds up. It makes every single move, and it's not just attacking moves, it's status moves like Tech's heal or passing out translation. Oh, his damage. He does have a damage on his second special, but his first special, it wouldn't normally do damage. It's going to do damage if he has defense up. And it's true damage, so it really melts people kind of fast. So it makes the team really fun. It's the one mandatory Zeta for a Bad Batch team if you are going to be running them. And I do think it's a worthwhile farm to get. So Hunter, number 15. Number 16, I applied this a lot earlier than I'm recommending now. But it's Queen's Will. Geonosian Brood Alpha is special. Or is unique. So at the start of the encounter, summon a Brute. So instead of having to summon the Brute with conscription, it'll just be there at the beginning. Why this is so valuable, even though Geonosian, I think Geonosians are kind of fallen off the wagon. Well, maybe that comparison doesn't make sense, but they've fallen off. They're not that good. They're really good if everyone is in like gear. If everyone is gear 6, they're great because they get flat bonuses from this, plus 50% that, or 15,000 max level protection. You rarely see a specific number call it, but they can all be gear 1, level 1, get this all this extra health protection and look like they're gear 10 or something. But they've kind of fallen off. Why this is still valuable is even if you don't have a Geonosian team, this is giving you a unique proposition. You have a disposable tank that's pre-taunting. So you come in, you got your pre-taunting tank to take whatever hits you need him to take. Even if he dies, Geonosian Brood Alpha will bring him right back. Super valuable. Just kind of a plug-and-play pre-taunting tank that's disposable and revivable. That's what it is. In Conquest, this is extremely useful. In PvP, you can find uses for it, but it's really just nice. So I do think it's something you should pick up, even if you're not farming Geonosians overall. If you just build up Geonosian Brood Alpha and you're skipping their ships, and you're skipping them, and you're not in a guild that does Dark Side TB, you still kind of want it. Number 17, we're going back to that CLS team. It's 3PO and Chewie's special. So you kind of need 3PO and Chewie built up to some degree for this to be worthwhile. This is what it does. Deal physical damage an additional time up to 5 for each enemy that has been defeated during the battle. Sometimes it seems like it's doing more than that. Not more than 5, but like if you kill one enemy, it seems like it's doing more damage. This is really useful specifically for Galactic Challenge feats. So there's this one feat that's really hard to do if you're an early game player. It's defeat 3 enemies at the same time or on the same turn. It's really hard to do without this special, honestly. And it doesn't pop up all the time, but that is one specific instance where it's great. Where it's also great is in like territory battle, because I think it counts enemies killed in the first wave as contributing towards this condition. So he goes again, wrecks people. Conquest, he's a one-man wrecking crew. If you get down one person, you can pretty much wipe the floor with people. It's just a lot of damage. It really is part of his identity. I mean, he has the turn meter, the stat sharing, the assisting, the dispelling, but that gives him the real big damage with that. So I prioritize that over like any of the other Zetas I've yet to talk about on the CLS team. One of which is the OG Chewbacca's first Zeta loyal friend. This is nice. It's especially good in Grand Arena when you need to recover health and protection. Whenever Chewbacca deals damage to an enemy. He and all guarded allies recover 3% health and protection. So this applies for each instance of damage. The normal hit, and then the bonus damage based on doing... he does like a percentage of damage equal to 20% of their max health. Both those count. So if he does an AoE and hits 5 targets, that's actually 10 instances of damage. That's 30% health and protection that you're recovering. So it's just pretty nice. A lot of good heals. It's necessary for sustaining if you're trying to go far in like military might with the CLS Rebel team. It's great in Conquest to get stuff back up and running. TB, it's kind of a lifeline. Just good across the board. I don't know why I zoomed out the little Rebel faction, but Chewbacca, definitely a valuable Zeta to pick up kind of early. I got it at number 18. Number 19, we got Ahsoka's Unique. Something might be a little surprising, but it is basically an identity Zeta for her. She doesn't do a lot of damage on her own, but it does turn her into an assisting machine, a dispelling machine. And if you are going the route of Galactic Republic Fleet first, which is what I recommend, and that's what I'm basing a lot of these recommendations on, you want to get this eventually. So I still don't have my Jedi Knight Anakin Zeta, because I don't really run him with Padme much. But even if you're running Ahsoka under Qui-Gon Jinn, you're really going to increase the amount of damage you are going to be able to put out with Ahsoka, or whoever you use her under. Padme, it's necessary. Qui-Gon Jinn, Jedi Master Kenobi eventually. It's just a valuable Zeta early on. And since she is one of your key ships early, and she's easily farmable, why not? So definitely a very identitarian Zeta for Ahsoka. And last on the list is Mace Windu. So Mace Windu is the fleet commander for the fleet that I recommend the most. The Endurance. You can beat a lot of fleets with this. Leviathan's kind of stretched, but you can beat Leviathan. You can beat Executor, which you're going to see all over the place. You can be like a Negotiator, which I used to think of as just the clear-cut better fleet, but the rework to the Endurance is very worthwhile. The Zeta I'm recommending on Mace is his special. So he has 3 Zetas, which is kind of expensive to think about when you're the newer player. He's accessible really early. You'll probably have him at lower gear quite early on, and he'll get some utility for you. But when you decide to apply Zetas to Mace, I think the first one you got to go for is this special because it has the turn meter swap, and then it gives him some taunting ability. But turn meter swaps are just really useful across the board. You not only give a turn to an ally, you're just going to get another turn quite soon as long as you play it right. He has to have another Galactic Republic ally to swap with, so if you have him on a Giant Knight Revan team, you need to pick like Yoda or something, which is not a bad move at all. So you're going to get to Yoda, he might take a bunch of turns, then Mace is going to take turns, and that's a core tenet of how I've been able to beat a bunch of Galactic Legends with my Jedi, even without having my own Galactic Legend Jedi. So even before you have Giant Knight Luke, and the reason I don't have like a Giant Knight Luke Zeta on this is because I think he's most likely unlocked after you have 20 Zetas, but Mace definitely impactful. His other Zetas aren't bad either, but I would definitely start with that special. So there it is, my top 20 early game Zetas. These are just ones I think will be useful early and then not fall out of style later on. And it is largely focused around kind of the path that I recommend for early game players to farm. So you can pick any team to focus on early, but that doesn't mean I'm going to know that you're going to go for it. Like if you decided to rush Balin's Skull and maybe you want a Shin Hati Zeta, yeah, that might work for you if you've really built up that team super early. But I haven't really thought of things in those terms yet, like Great Mothers. Another great team, you can farm them directly, but it's a lot of Kyrotech that you're going to need to build that team up. So early game, I've been focusing more on teams that don't have a lot of Kyrotech. Some honorable mentions, you could be Master Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, because they are really early farming priorities for their assault battle that just requires the 2 of them. But they're only mainly useful once you get into relics, and I think you can probably get through that assault battle without the Zetas, because they're mainly focused on Queen Amidala teams. So there's a lot of Zetas out there that maybe I didn't mention you might think of, but it's thinking of teams that are easy to farm, outsized impact, kind of assault battles in resource allocations. That is the criteria I use. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time.